if a 20-year-old right now, Roth IRA, maximum contributions, if you're not in the catch-up area, is $7,000 a year. Okay. If you take a 20-year-old, that 20-year-old puts $7,000 a year into a Roth IRA until they're 27 and stops. That person number one, is going to have more money at 65 than person number two, who starts saving $7,000 a year at 28 and does that every year for the rest of their life.
Welcome back to another episode of the Blueprint Podcast with your host. I am Zach Iyer.
And I'm Spencer Maxwell. And Zach.
We have another guest for you.
Yeah.
And an exciting one at that. A guy that has seen a lot of success in the early years of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So, Spencer, who do we have on the podcast this morning?
Today we have Chaz Woodhull. Chaz has been a friend for a while. Great guy, great financial advisor. Yeah, man, we're just blessed to know you. Like I said, every time Chaz comes around, we just get juiced up.
I know.
It's just like he's one of those guys that he is the mission statement of the Blueprint. He educates, he motivates, and he inspires.
Thank you.
And so just your energy and your company, man, we're so blessed.
Thanks.
So yeah, Chaz, I guess, give these people a little rundown on Chaz Woodhull, if you could. Give a little intro.
Sure. So I think my story, really starts, when I'm 7 years old. So my family believes in manual labor. And so when I was 7 years old, I was working for my grandmother in her garden for 25 cents an hour.
How times have changed.
Yeah. And it was not, 1890. It was, however long ago that was. But
yeah.
And I said, "Hey, Gigi, what gives? I can't do anything with 25 cents. Nothing." She said, "Well, if you want to learn how to make money, you need to learn how to invest." I said, "What's that?" And she told me about this guy in Omaha who sits at his desk all day long reading. He makes millions of dollars a year. His name was Warren Buffett. Ran a company called Berkshire Hathaway. And so she sat me down in her garden that day and basically taught me about investing and how it works and how you can make your money work for you. And as a 7-year-old, it just captured my imagination.
Yeah.
It was like magic.
Yeah.
So the following Kentucky Derby, at that time I was 8, it was just a couple of months later, my dad gave me $3 to bet on a horse. And I forget what the horse's name was. I looked it up at one point. I forget what it is. And the horse won. I won $36. Microsoft was trading at 32 at the time. So I gave my dad $36. I said, "Hey, can you buy me a share of Microsoft?"
You're 8?
I was 8 years old.
That's insane. That's insane.
So that was, 20 years ago. And I've been doing it ever since. I in elementary school, I read the stock section every day. I in junior high, competed in stock selecting competitions on MarketWatch. And, I went from Microsoft to a rare earths metal company that I bought and sold for like a 25% gain in a week. And it doesn't usually happen like that. I got lucky. And, in junior high, I found this offshoot of the Bank of Ireland that was going between a penny and 2 pennies like clockwork every day, multiple times a day. And so I tried trading it and learned that liquidity and trading volume was a thing.
Yeah.
So I couldn't trade very much of it because there were not that many shares that were being bought and sold. So it wasn't a meaningful thing. But I learned that at a young age, and I just continued to invest. And now I am like the luckiest guy in the world because I get to do it every day, professionally. So that's kind of how my story, at least professionally, how it got started and how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your family background, because you have a phenomenal family.
Oh, thanks.
Like they're all like Chaz, is a good representative of his family. They're always, just in the best mood. They're motivating and inspiring, and you have a family of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's right.
So kind of tell me about like your family upbringing too.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom and dad are entrepreneurs, both my grandfathers, great grandfathers, great great grandfathers, great uncles, just aunts, uncles, cousins. It's just kind of all over my family. And so, growing up, that's the environment for people that have grown up in a family business. When you're 15, and you get in some trouble, hey, you're working in the warehouse the whole summer. Your summer's mine. That happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's dinner table conversation. Is, hey, how was work? Because my mom and dad were in the same business, and so he understood, intimately what she did, because he ran the company before she did, and that there's a whole story behind that. But so it's being around entrepreneurs, I think is really an incredible gift, because being an entrepreneur, it requires you to become a better version of yourself. And good entrepreneurs work for their employees. They work for others. And it takes a certain quality of person to be able to get up every day and take on the responsibility of running a business that's putting the food on other people's table, not just putting the food on their own table.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight to carry.
It's a lot of weight to carry. And so, the values and the morals that came from that, of responsibility, make the decisions that help you sleep at night. Even if it's not the right decision for you personally, that doesn't matter. It's about doing the right thing for others first. And so, I was really incredibly blessed to grow up in a family of entrepreneurs, and to be able to be raised on the ideals that go along with that.
Oh yeah, good for you.
So let me ask you this, Chaz, because everything that you're saying so much so resonates with my philosophy on raising kids and how Tawny and I want to eventually do these things. Do you think, because at the young age of 28 years old, you found a lot of success, do you think that you would be as far along now if you didn't have that upbringing, those influences?
No way. In fact, I think to myself pretty frequently, everything I've accomplished is because of God and Jay and Susie Woodhull, my parents. I mean, there's no way I would, be who I am today, which is most important, or have done what I've done without the influences and the support of my parents and family and God.
Yeah. Well, props to you, man. I mean, obviously, yeah, credit to them, but I mean, they obviously gave you a mindset and gave you good entrepreneurship morals. But I mean, dude, look how you're running with it. This is the part where we brag about Chaz and how she's crushed.
100%.
This is what we're,
absolutely.
That's where you come in, Zach.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, somebody can lay the foundation, but at the end of the day, they can't make decisions for you. Yeah. They can't do things for you. You have to take accountability for that, right? And mad respect comes in when, you're able to, take the foundation and really do something with it. Because I feel like statistically, and I don't have this statistic straight off the top of my head, but I feel like a lot of kids that have had a foundation laid for them, not a ton of them, kind of launch from there. I feel like a decent amount of them, kind of take a step backwards, so to speak.
Yeah, complacency. Yeah, because of complacency.
Right. And so that's where, Spencer and I have conversations of immense amount of respect for you, of taking what you were given and just running with it. And you work extremely hard. to accomplish the things that you've set out to do. So a ton of respect from that standpoint. But
Thank you.
man, I tell you what, hearing your upbringing and everything, that just resonates so much with the conversations that Spencer and I have about, you know, our parenting philosophies and as fellow entrepreneurs. Like, that is the objective. We want to create an environment for our kids that, you know, that sets them up for real world success. And for me, and I could talk a little bit about this, and I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but like the traditional education system, I don't know how much I gained from that has served me where I'm at. So, I mean, I have my 4-year degree in marketing, and then I have my MBA, I have my master's degree. And I mean, I would say, and this might seem extreme, but I would say 85 to 90% of what I've learned and accomplished is through real world experiences.
Yeah.
And self-taught education through different platforms such as podcasts. We talk a lot about reading, right? Just the access of information that is available to us. And I want to be able to, as a parent, create some of that environment for my kids, so that way they are learning from real world experience, real world business, have them involved in the process from a young age, so that way they're surrounded by that and kind of, I guess, reworks or formulates how they, you know, perceive opportunities and life and things of that sort. So, I mean, everything that you're saying, like, that is such an encouragement, and just like, man, that's what I want to be able to provide for my kids.
Yeah,
for
shout
our
out to
kids.
Jay and Susie Woodhull for ultimately giving you a mindset early on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you know, I know a little bit about your family. So they own a very successful company, Woodhull Printers. So I kind of have a tough question for you. You know, why not just join the family business and ride off into the sunset? You know, because that's the stigma. Just, you know, ride off into the sunset, join Woodhull Printers. But no, you chose to go a different direction.
Yeah.
Why?
So I think that's maybe two parts. So the business wasn't always successful.
Right.
And when I was about 4 or 5 years old, it was my granddad's company. It was my dad's company. And so my grandfather said to my dad, "Hey, you're going to buy the company from me. You're going to build it up and you're going to sell it." And he said, "Okay, Dad, I'll do that." So he did. And when he sold the company in, I think it was 2000, you know, they sold it for about 90% stock.
Okay.
And the purchasing company was manipulating their stock price. And so the stock price went from, you know, $76 a share or something down to $5. So they lost 2 generations of work.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And they pretty much lost everything, and, you know, paid off the house with what they had left so they wouldn't lose the house. And that was when I was, you know, 4 or 5. So that was in, you know, some pretty formative years of my life.
Wow.
My dad had a long non-compete, so he couldn't get back into the company, but my mom had, you know, a 12-month non-compete. And so she restarted the company in 2001, you know, didn't pay herself for 5 years, classic entrepreneur story. And, you know, has since, you know, been able to really accomplish, you know, great things. And it's amazing to see that, and, you know, how they rebounded from that and how they stuck together as a team during that process. But, you know, watching my mom and the sacrifices that she made to rebuild the company, watching that as a kid was, you know, really left an impression on me. And the other thing is, you know, I've just never been very passionate about copiers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that shows from the age 7, learning how to invest. Clearly, we know what you're passionate about.
Well, you know, I like the thing that's really cool about the work that I do is that my job basically is to learn what people's hopes and dreams are, the life they want to live, and then use the tools available to me to help them get there.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
And it shows, dude. Like literally every time me and Steph walk away from a meeting with you, we feel like we can run through a brick wall. Seriously,
Thank you.
it's so motivating. It is just so inspiring after meeting with you. Like you can really see the passion.
And for you, like that is in my definition of impactful, meaningful work. You know what I
100%.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what better way to work in your passion and do the things that you love to do while at the same time making decisions that will significantly change the lives of the other people
Yeah.
for generations, possibly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
And that's what gets me going. You know, if I'm gonna sell a copier to somebody, I'm not gonna talk to them about their hopes and dreams. You know,
right. Right.
But I get to do that
Yeah.
every day, and I get to help people, teach their kids the lessons and values that they want to teach about money. Because what we learn is by what we see our parents do, and
It's all caught.
yeah. And so, I really get to help people. I just helped a client buy an engagement ring. Within the past
Wow.
6 months, I've helped a client buy an engagement ring, helped a client buy a house, I helped a client retire, helped a client save $450,000 a year on a wasted, not necessarily wasted, but something that they should not have been investing in and spending money on. And those are big things, that's
Massive.
Yeah.
That has to feel good.
Oh my God, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels absolutely incredible because I get to be on this really amazing journey with my clients throughout their lives and throughout their retirement, and watch them progress, watch them do and accomplish the things that they want to do and accomplish.
Would you say that's your favorite part about doing what you do?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely the most fulfilling. There's no question. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously this is current day,
Mhm.
right? I assume that you didn't start there,
No.
right? You didn't start with, the portfolio of clients being able to do, meaningful, impactful work. So along the lines of the professional journey, where did you start and what was that like?
Yeah. So I got fully licensed in I think it was May of 2020. So right in COVID, and it was kind of wild. Just the entire world was virtual. I started at a large insurance and financial services firm, Northwestern Mutual. And for those familiar with it, it's very. They have a sales process and they have a training regimen. It's make $40 a day. Always ask for introductions. Et cetera, et cetera. And it's a grind. It is a grind. I mean, you don't make any money at all. It's, you're not fully investments licensed, at first. And so the only thing you can sell is life insurance and disability insurance. And, so it's really, really difficult. I mean, the failure rate is, I think 95%.
Trust me, I'm aware. I work at Northwestern Mutual.
Yeah. And it's a great company. But the way I kind of think about it is it's like when you're going to look at colleges or something, it could be a great school, but not for you.
Yeah.
Northwestern, great company, not for me. So I left in 2022 after a little over 2.5 years, and joined an independent firm, Gallagher Pool Wealth Management, that is, our focus is a little bit different. We do things very differently than Northwestern does, and I think actually very differently than most of the industry, for sure. But yeah, that's where I started, and that's kind of how I ended up at the firm I'm with now.
Interesting. So, I don't know if you're able to do this, but can you explain on some of the details of what differentiates you guys from like a Northwestern Mutual, the things that you do differently than what the industry does?
Yeah. So one thing, specifically from Northwestern Mutual is we don't lead with insurance or products, and that's not unique to Northwestern Mutual. There's a lot of companies that do that, and so we don't do that. We lead with, hey, what are your needs? What are your goals? I have no idea what kind of services or products or whatever that you may need until after we have a conversation, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our process. But in terms of more details, I'd say the way we view investing and the way we go about investing on behalf of our clients is unique. So I'll give you a couple of examples. The financial services industry as a whole, good way to think about it is compared to the healthcare system. Everyone can agree the healthcare system in the United States is really messed up,
to say the least.
Yeah. And I would say the same is true for the wealth care system, the financial services industry in this country. When you go to your doctor, for most people, there are large hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, and insurance companies that get in the way of that relationship. I had to schedule a surgery for myself in a couple of weeks. I could not go to the surgery center that the doctor recommended because my insurance company didn't cover it.
Was it considered out of network?
Yeah, it was out of network.
Yeah.
So these big companies are getting in between the relationship between a doctor and their patient, and I think that's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
And the same is true in the financial services industry. There are large financial institutions and insurance companies that get in the way between a relationship between a financial advisor and their client.
Interesting.
And they do that by saying, for a particular advisor at a particular firm, you have to invest in our investment platform. And that investment platform may be, some collection of mutual funds and ETFs, or, particular stocks and bonds. And so the advisor doesn't actually have full control over what investments and products and services their client has access to.
Business owners, do you know the value of creating a strong brand and realize social media is one of the best ways to do it, but don't have the time to stay consistent or know where to start? Do you need a modern website or an eye-catching logo? You only get one first impression, and you've got to make it count. No matter if you're looking for a website, a logo package, or if you need a professional to craft and implement a custom social media strategy to create a recognizable brand and drive sales, the Z&T agency has got you covered. Odds are you've probably been thinking about these things to some degree, but didn't know a solution. Or maybe this is all new to you and you're interested in hearing more. Either way, we'd love to talk to you. Reach out to zach.hire@theztagency.com to book your consultation call today.
It's dictated by the company. And I think that's similarly completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
And so we don't have that. We're totally independent. So if somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I need, X, Y, and Z, great.
You can match make.
Yeah.
For the most part, we can match make. It's, a la carte. We can do, what our clients need.
Oh, good.
So basically, you're not going in with an agenda of what you need to do. You can genuinely get to the root of, hey, my client needs this.
Yeah.
I can walk in, have a conversation based on what they need.
Yeah.
And deliver that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The other thing, and that's a big thing from like a 30,000 foot view in terms of how the financial services industry kind of operates. But more specifically, the financial services industry is going to tell you, hey, you need to be diversified. You need to have, to be properly diversified, you need to have access to investments in international emerging, international developed, commodities, real estate, et cetera. Well, the way they define international companies is where the mailbox is, not where the revenue is. The largest international companies in the world are headquartered in the United States.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know how much of Coca-Cola's revenue comes internationally?
How much?
In 2020, it was over 66%.
Oh my goodness.
Holy crap.
So that's an
Wow.
that's an international exposure as far as I'm concerned. As
Yeah.
an owner of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
That as an owner of Coca-Cola, over 2/3 of my revenue that I'm earning are coming from international companies. But if you ask the financial services industry, that's not international exposure. That's a domestic large cap stock because that's the box that we put it in. Same thing with Procter & Gamble. Same thing with Meta, Google, Apple. I mean, people in the United States are not the only people that use these products from these amazing companies that everyone across the world uses. So when we think about international exposure, we think about it that way. And the other thing that benefits from that is, for the most part, we can trust the accounting processes of companies in the United States. If you say, hey, I want to invest in international developed stocks. I was in India over Christmas and New Year's, and that's considered an international developing, so it's emerging market. Okay. Well, we were driving around New Delhi, and our tour guide was saying, hey, you see that house? That billionaire, has got caught flying his mistress all around the country. Oh, you see that house? That's belonged to these two brothers who sold their company to Japan, and now they're in prison for fraud. That guy owned a company that, now fraudulent. So when you're investing in all these companies from all over the world, they don't necessarily have the same accounting practices that we do.
Yeah.
So it's harder to trust their numbers.
Yeah.
And to know really what you own. But guess what? I already have exposure to India. Coca-Cola, stick to the same example. Coca-Cola. A couple of years ago, Coca-Cola has been buying up local Indian brands, keeping the Indian managers involved, and then lending their economies of scope and scale to these managers so that they can run their companies more effectively. And so, if I own Coca-Cola, I own a good percentage of the Indian beverage market.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic beverage market.
And that's technically a domestic company, though.
Yeah, but it's technically, if you ask the financial services industry, no, that's a domestic company.
Right. Right.
So it's all messed up.
Interesting.
And the way they think about diversification, if you look at the numbers of the people who are the greatest investors of all time, there's not one person has invested, not one, the way that the financial services industry recommends most people invest. Not one.
Exactly like you said, just like the healthcare system. What we were just talking about.
I was literally just going to say that about what they project, in a great parallel to this is what they project for the food industry.
Yeah.
And what they say is healthy and what the diet that we should be eating is. But then, you look around and, it looks like it's not working out too well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's the same thing. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
That is wildly fascinating.
Dude, and it's, holy crap, the self-education that you're going through to discover all that stuff. Not every financial advisor is telling people this.
Well, and
You have a very outside of the box thinking method.
well, correct me if I'm wrong. Not every financial advisor can do that because they're not an independent company, correct? Because they have,
right.
kind of the lens in which they have to operate in, some of these that we were just discussing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the most of the financial services industry, as I mentioned before, sets these boundaries within which financial advisors can operate. And so, they may agree with me, but if you're with, I'm not going to name the companies, but if you're with many of the large financial services companies in the United States and you're not independent, you don't have the latitude to, operate the way that we do.
So how many independent offices, brokerages, whatever you call them, how many are there in comparison to like some of the larger companies? Like, is it pretty difficult to find an independent company?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to how many there are compared to, larger firms.
Yeah.
My guess would be that there are more financial advisors associated with, really big financial services companies than there are independent advisors. But it's not going to be terribly difficult to find an independent advisor. You just need to know what you're looking for. So, companies that we broker dealer with LPL. It's the largest independent broker dealer in the world. And, so if you have an advisor that broker dealers with LPL, they're going to be independent.
Interesting. I tell you what, this is why these types of conversations are so important, because everything that you've been saying, I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just didn't know, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So having these conversations from an education standpoint, to be able to be like, oh, now I know that I need to be intentional about the person that I'm moving my money to, outside of just, this is Billy, my good friend. He might be, but he might be working for one of those large institutions.
Yeah. And, Charlie Munger, rest in peace. He's one of my, idols. Says the iron rule of nature is you get what you incent for. So it's important to understand the incentives of the person that you work with, because if they're working for, a company that incents one way versus another, I'd be willing to bet that that's where most of the recommendations are going to be going, in the way that that particular company leans in terms of their incentives.
Absolutely.
So like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And to be honest, I found this out in real estate, is people just don't know a lot about what it takes to buy or sell a home. And so to kind of put that on your industry, and I don't want to offend anybody, but there's a lot of financially illiterate people out there, or they just don't know what they don't know. They've never been taught how to handle money. Like you said, it's caught from our parents, right? Stuff the money under your mattress, or just go get a savings account that earns you 0.00001%. So,
right.
Like, I guess, Chaz, just coming from you, because you hold a lot of credibility, what should these people be looking for as far as like just getting started? And I'm not asking for you to like, tell them to invest in this, but like, how do they even get started? Because people, that's half the time the battle. They don't even know what to do.
Yeah. So I'll say a little disclaimer. Anything I say is for educational purposes only, and do not take this as financial advice.
Boom.
But what a great place to get started is first laying the foundation. So you want to think about your wealth as a house, okay? And any good home is not going to stand over years. It's going to fall down if it doesn't have a strong foundation. So you need to start with a foundation. And for financial well-being, the foundation is first and foremost managing your budget. Your greatest financial asset is your earnings.
Yep.
And you need to respect them, and you need to treat them wisely. So setting a budget and making sure that you're saving and investing the right amount. The next step is, where do you save and invest? And first things you want to look at are, do I have enough savings? So a lot of people in this country, credit card debt is at an all-time high, get into a debt trap. The way they do that is they don't save enough for an emergency fund. So they'll put everything on a credit card. Okay, I'm going to pay off the credit card over months. And then something happens, life happens. Your car breaks down, you need new furnace, your child has to get some medical care, and then boom, where does it go? Credit card.
Yep.
So setting up an emergency fund, financial planning, textbook would tell you 3 to 6 months of income or expenses in an emergency fund. So that's a good place to start. From there, think about the defensive planning. So in terms of insurances, and a lot of people, insurance is a 4-letter word, and I'm kind of one of those people, but it's still important. And so in terms of protecting your income, you need to have the right amount of disability insurance. You also need to have the right amount of life insurance. Okay. You don't necessarily need permanent insurance, but everybody should have the right amount of death benefit through either their employer. You can get a lot of death benefit really cheaply through group term insurance or personal term insurance. There's some benefits to that. It goes with you. Sometimes you can get better coverage, better guarantees on private, personal term insurance. But that's the kind of stuff that you want to start with. And there's nothing really exciting about it, frankly, but those are the things that turn a financial catastrophe into a financial inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start. And then from there, it's identifying, what am I trying to do with my life?
Yeah, like you said earlier, what are your goals?
What are
When you
my
meet with
goals?
people, what are your goals?
When do I want to retire?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
People never think about that, especially I'm 26. It's like, if you just ask me if I didn't know anything about finances, which thanks to you, I do a little bit, but like the average 26-year-old, they don't know anything about retirement or what it takes to get there.
Well, and I also think that at some point, like 26-year-olds, some of them don't care right now.
Yeah.
Right. They want the extra cash flow.
Yeah.
And it's not being intentional about where I want to go.
Yeah.
100%. And we say this all the time, of beginning with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Of like working back. I know that I want to be here. I know I want to retire at X age. I know I want to accomplish this. I know I want to have this amount of money coming in each month. And how do I reverse engineer that? I feel like so many people just live on the day to day. They don't live with the future in mind. They don't live with delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Everything is.
Well, I don't think
exactly
they're willing
right.
to be sacrificial, right? To save that $20 a week, rather than go get a fast food meal,
right.
Save that $20 and put that away each week and you'll retire a millionaire. I don't know, but the sacrificial part is what I think a lot of people don't understand on it.
Yeah. Well, it's delayed gratification, but anyhow, get back.
Well, to your point, Zach, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
John Wooden.
Yep. So you can't, if you don't have an idea of where you're going, you're definitely not going to get there.
Yeah.
And so identify what are you trying to do? The whole reason why any one of us really tries to be good with money is so that we can live the life that we want to live.
1,000%.
Whatever that is, if you're trying to, buy a second home in Florida, retire down there, or if I talked to a guy one time, he just wanted to play Legos all day. He just wanted to get enough money so that he could retire, cover his expenses, and cover his Lego expenses and play Lego all day. I don't care what you want to do.
Yeah. That's your goal.
That's cool.
Right.
So what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then figure out a way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And
are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? Be sure to use a Maxwell Group at NavX Realty, where your dream is our passion. The Maxwell Group takes pride in client relationships and experiences. We utilize our knowledge, our love for the industry, and our extensive network to handle your life's biggest investment. Call or text Spencer Maxwell at 937-572-5382.
And do it with urgency. Okay. If a 20-year-old right now, Roth IRA, maximum contributions, if you're not in the catch-up area, is $7,000 a year. Okay. If you take a 20-year-old, that 20-year-old puts $7,000 a year into a Roth IRA until they're 27 and stops. That person number one, is going to have more money at 65 than person number two, who starts saving $7,000 a year at 28 and does that every year for the rest of their life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just soak that in, people. Soak that in. If that didn't motivate you to get started, I don't know what is. Wow.
Yeah. So, when it comes to building wealth, and, I was talking to some students, some high school students last week and the week before. There's three things that go into wealth building. One is how much you save. Second is how you invest it. Okay. So the rate of return you get. And the third is the amount of time. By far, the most important of those three legs of the stool is time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can save more. We can eat beans and rice and live cheaply and save as much as we can.
Yeah.
We can invest more aggressively. Do our best to recreate rates of return, but we cannot get time back. It's by far the most precious asset we have, and the most powerful of those three factors.
Chaz, let me ask you this. I'll be interested to hear your perspective. And when I ask this, I'm sure that there's some nuance in it. It's situational. It's on a per person basis, what their objectives are, things of that sort. But I guess I'll just keep it to three categories of preparing for the future, building wealth, things of that sort. Number one is everything that we're talking about with the market, with, traditional investments and IRAs and things of that sort. Number two, real estate, building a real estate portfolio that you own, kind of building a real estate business. Or three, just building a business in general to generate, and obviously this is long-term thinking, building a business that cash flows well, that you can then exit for a sizable amount of money. So those three options of the traditional markets, real estate, and just building a business, what do you think would be, for the masses, the best of the three to pursue to, I guess you can't ensure wealth, but ensure wealth?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I talk about, investing in a business versus investing in, traditional markets or investing in real estate, kind of helps to think about it in terms of, you got your home run dollars, you got your aggressive dollars, and you got your safe dollars. Okay. Safe dollars are going to be, stuff like you put in a CD or money market, high yield savings, stuff like that. Aggressive dollars are going to be in dollars that you invest in the market and in real estate. Okay. A little bit more risk, but a little bit higher return. And the third is home run dollars. That's the business. So of the three, if the business is successful, you can get a much higher return investing in a business and growing a business than you can than you would expect to get in real estate or, the traditional stock market.
That's a huge if.
That's
a huge if.
It's a huge if.
Yeah, the home run obviously comes with more risk.
Yeah, the home run comes with more risk.
And how many? Yeah, I mean, statistically, what is it like? 90% of businesses fail after like 5 years.
Yeah,
something of that sort.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And don't take me on that, but there's a significant amount of entrepreneurs that don't make it. Yeah. So that's the caveat.
Yeah,
it's a huge if.
Yeah, but I think it really depends on the person. I'm obviously pro entrepreneurship. Okay, the United States is the most entrepreneurial country on earth, and come from a family of business owners. Okay, so I'm pro entrepreneurship. If somebody in this country, wants to bet on themselves, start a company, and go for it. Go for it.
I love that.
Go for it.
And that's outside of the box too of average financial advisors.
But also be prepared for failure.
Worst case scenario.
You might fail.
Yeah.
You might go bankrupt. Who knows? But I'm very pro entrepreneurship. And in terms of, investing in real estate versus investing in the stock market, the way I kind of think about that is, you guys know real estate.
Yeah.
And I own some real estate. And if you're going to invest in real estate, you got to do your homework. Okay. And you got to do your homework in the same way if you're going to buy an individual company. If you're going to buy an individual company, you should know what you own. And if you're going to buy, a single family, multifamily, commercial property, if you're going to do stuff like that, you need to do your research. You need to run your comps. You need to be able to project what your expected rate of return is going to be, counting in all of the expenses. And but real estate is a fantastic way to make money. More millionaires come from the real estate industry than any other industry in the United States. In fact, I was reading an article, I think yesterday, the day before, and right now the ultra wealthy across the world, actually, the number one asset class that they're investing in is Class A real estate.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it is an amazing tool for wealth creation, but I will, know what you own, do your research, and if you're not willing to do your research, buy a REIT,
Right.
or invest in real estate through other means. There's a lot of really great, crowdfunded and non-market traded things and stuff like that you can invest in if you're not someone who's willing to put in the research, to buy individual properties.
Yeah. Let me know your thoughts on this. I heard this. I don't know if it was Graham Stephan who heard it for somebody. I don't know. And I'll probably butcher it. But when determining what vehicle you want to, invest in, whether that be traditional markets, real estate business, whatever, looking at it from the perspective of where is the majority of my knowledge? What am I best at of these different things? Like for you, you started investing when you were 7 years old. Obviously, you have more of a proclivity towards traditional markets, things of that sort. Your knowledge is very expansive in that. For example, for Spencer and I, we have a lot more knowledge in more of the real estate space.
Right.
For like your parents that are entrepreneurs and from generational business owners, maybe for them it makes more sense. But wherever the majority of your knowledge is, where you feel the most comfortable, choosing which vehicle based on that.
Yeah.
Because odds are you'll probably be a lot more successful because you know what you're doing, right? And it mitigates 100%. A little bit of risk while doing that.
100%.
And that's not to say that you just neglect the others altogether. I think that you can absolutely utilize all of those things, but just is based off of like kind of where your knowledge is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think, we're most, to kind of get back to the original question of like, what's, the most appropriate for the average person. I'd say the average person in the United States, put your money in your 401k, put your money in your Roth IRA if you can. Yeah. And invest in low cost ETFs, and get diversification through that way, and don't look at it for 40 years.
Yeah.
And wake up a millionaire. The average person in the United States doesn't reach a positive net worth until their mid 30s.
Really?
Yeah. Student loans.
Yep.
And the average person in the United States doesn't have enough cash to cover a $400 emergency.
That's sad.
Yeah. So, just, hey, put your money in your 401k, set it and forget it, get the match.
Yeah.
It's free money. If you're not doing it, you're missing out. So I think just broadly speaking, for the average person, go that route. It's a recipe that has worked for hundreds of years, so, go that route. Yeah. But to your point, if somebody is starting to, make a little bit more money, wants to take that extra risk, go with what you know and what you feel most comfortable with. And also what excites you the most, because if you're really into real estate, God, you're probably going to end up putting so much more energy and time into doing that. And you're going to end up doing it probably better than you would if you just invested in the stock market.
Yep.
Because maybe the stock market doesn't get you going.
Right.
But if you're like me and you love investing in companies, then go that route. Right. Maybe real estate or starting your own business isn't right for you. And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
But, to your point, there's so many ways to be successful. It's just, figuring out what's right for you,
Yeah.
and what's the path you want to take, and what do you want your life to look like.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So, Chaz, real quick, that was all awesome. But some people might be scared to make that jump, especially this year, and I wonder why. Right? It's an election year,
Yeah.
and there's kind of a stigma around election years.
Yes, there is. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So in election years, I'm talking to people all the time, and they say, I want to wait until after the election.
Mm-hmm.
I want to wait until after the election. We're in war with Russia, proxy war with Russia, and Israel and Iran and Palestine and all the conflict in the Middle East, plus an election. Elections are getting crazier and crazier. I'm just scared. Well, two things. One, there was a study done, and it showed over the last 100 years, okay, the average annualized rate of return in the stock market in election years is 11.6%.
Really?
Yeah, which is higher than the average overall historical return. So on average, you're going to be better off investing in election years. And I even think it was something like 96% of the time the market's up in election years. Yeah. So that's point number one. Point number two is, and I might get these numbers slightly off, but in 1900, okay, Dow Jones was trading for $11 and change. Okay. In 2000, and this is where I'm going to get the number wrong, it was, over 11,000 or something like that. So, and think about all that happened in the 20th century. We had World War One, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War. We had the Spanish flu. We had crazy high inflation, crazy high taxes. The highest marginal tax bracket in the 20th century in the United States was 93%. Yeah. So there's all kinds of crazy things.
There's chaos all the time.
Chaos all the time. But over time, there's no reason to be afraid.
So
they're playing the long game.
Do you see it just more of like less about, hey, there's this, and this going on because there's always chaos, and more of it just being an uncomfortable topic for people to talk about?
I think when it comes to investing in money, most of the time the decisions people make are not based on dollars and cents. It's based on emotion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when people are afraid, they make irrational decisions. And so, that's one of the most important things when it comes to investing is being able to manage your temperament, and manage your behavior as an investor. In fact, behavior is the single largest performance drag on people's ability to grow wealth in the stock market. There's a white paper published by, I think it was Vanguard, that proved that. And the number is insane. It's like decrease your annualized rate of return by over 2.5% or something like that.
Oh,
I might get the numbers wrong, but yeah, but if you don't have proper behavior, it's going to seriously affect your ability to grow wealth over time.
yeah. And I think that concept of emotion versus logic runs so true in a lot of aspects of our lives.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like we would be so much better off. And obviously there's times, that emotion is a good thing, and emotion is a good thing. Like we should feel the emotion of events and all this kind of stuff. But, when it comes to things that need to be dealt with logic, we really need to, and easier said than done, but really make that separator of like, am I letting emotion cloud my judgment, or do I really need to dig into logic? And it kind of goes to, you don't know what you don't know. If you're not intentional about your thinking, you may not even realize you're acting off of emotion versus logic. But yeah, I mean, I think that principle is so important, and it affects our everyday lives and really everything we do.
Yeah. So, Chaz, clearly, you know what you're talking about. You're very well educated. Kind of want to get into that a little bit. So, you're an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Okay. You're, scrapping for your living. You're doing very well. What are some successful habits that you've picked up? Obviously, self-education being one. What do you think it takes, some habits? What are some habits you think it takes to be successful?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And I've actually been thinking a lot about it recently. In fact, I just hired a health coach, a life coach, and a
Yep.
business coach. So, but in terms of habits, I cut out drinking in January, and I've had a couple drinks this year, but for the most part, I've been sober. That has been a huge thing for me. But I guess just overall, getting up and getting after it. You got to get up in the morning. You have the right attitude. You gotta work really hard,
Mm-hmm.
to be successful. You have to be, you have to get a little bit of luck, right?
Mhm.
But luck comes with the meeting of, hard work and preparation.
The harder you work, the
Always.
luckier you get.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think that one really important, not necessarily a habit, but more of just a constitution of how you carry yourself, is to be for others,
Yeah.
to have a service mindset, because people can pick up on motivations and kind of the vibe, I guess, that people put off pretty easily. And if you're selfish, and if you go around the world thinking about how can I get mine all the time, no matter what, people are going to pick up on that. And if you go into the world with an idea of what can I do to help others? What can I do to be the best I can be so that I can be the best for others?
Yeah.
That is, if you carry that mindset with you for years and decades, think about that. Think about how successful you would be, and
All the referrals.
and think about the person you would become.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your point of people can pick up on, hey, I'm working from a standpoint of selfishness,
Yeah.
or all that kind of, people can also pick up on, this is a genuine person that authentically cares about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I feel like a lot of this is subconscious and it just wired into us, but people, and like you said, it's kind of like, I guess, the woo-woo term of they pick up on the vibes, man.
Yeah.
And that the principle of, if they can pick up on you being selfish, I think that equally translates to, they can pick up on you're a genuine person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having a strong belief and having a strong operating system.
Yeah.
Just operating out of that belief.
Yeah.
That rooted belief. That's good. So Chaz, tell us a little bit about your dreams, your goals. Where do you want to end up? You're very successful right now where you're at, but obviously you're not a complacent person. What's your end goal?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of thinking about that recently, actually. And for me, the one thing that I've always wanted to be is a good father. Always. So,
man, I just got chills.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
That's a big goal for me. And there's a lot that goes with that, making sure that I'm the best person I can be, the best man that I can be.
Mm-hmm.
So most of my goals, just surround, how can I be the best I can be for others? And how can I make sure that when that time comes for me to be a father, that I'm an incredible dad. But professionally, I really want to have maximum impact on my clients and on the world. I think if people, generally speaking, were properly educated around, financial well-being, that we would have a more peaceful country. We would have a more solid country, we'd have more solid families. Financial stress,
way less divorces.
yeah,
Oh.
financial stress is the number one reason for divorce in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
We would have more generous communities. We would have all kinds of things. And I think what that looks like, what that maximum impact looks like, is a firm where I built a team of selfless, driven individuals who are focused on the client and everything we possibly can do for the client. Working with thousands and thousands of clients all across the country, and having, eventually billions, if not tens of billions of dollars in assets under management. I mean, our firm right now, we have, just under, $250 million in assets under management. Me personally, it's about 36
Nice.
36
solid, yeah.
million.
Yeah.
So and we have about 650 clients.
Okay.
So it's long term, really want to build out a firm that represents the very best of the industry. It represents true education. It really represents truly acting in your client's best interest. And having, building out a team that works with people all over the country
Just
and has
top-notch
tens of billions,
service.
just absolute top-notch education and service.
Yeah.
Let me just pause real quick, going away from some of this. I just want to tell you, and not to come at it from a pessimistic approach, but the world that we live in, we just talked a little bit about it, is so selfish and greedy and all about getting mine. Chaz, I tell you what, man, your answer to that question, hats off. So much respect.
Thanks.
So much respect.
Thank you.
Because like I said, in the world that we live in, everything's about how can me, my, how can I go get mine? And if I got to step on you to get there, it's business,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So much respect for what you're looking to do. And I have no doubt that you're going to accomplish it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You want to be a world changer, man. I see it.
Yeah, I do. I was listening to, I've been getting into a lot of Nick Saban speeches.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Recently. Isn't he awesome?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's so motivating.
Yeah. And he had this, he gave this speech. It was maybe only 2 minutes of the full speech, but he said, if you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak.
Yep.
I've heard. Yep.
If you want to be happy for a day, go play golf.
Yep.
You want to be happy for a week, go on a cruise. You want to be happy for a month, buy a new car. But if you want to be happy in your life, ask yourself this one question. If I don't show up today, is anybody going to miss my ass? Because if the answer to that question is yes, then you've accomplished the very best in life, which is to be your best and to do your best in whatever it is that you choose to do.
So good.
Chaz, you strike me as a person that would have it. Do you have any core values or like a mission statement, not just for business, but for life? Something that you really believe that you operate out of?
Yeah, I think I've written it down, but to me, the meaning of life used to be, very literally to transfer on the genetic knowledge that is necessary for survival to your offspring.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because we live in a modern world, that's not really, it's not really the meaning of life anymore biologically. So what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life to me is to pass on an environment or to pass on knowledge or values or a city block or a home that will leave the campsite cleaner than you found it, that will make it easier for the next generation not to survive like it used to be, but to thrive
Mm-hmm.
and to be more generous and to be better for others and to be the best that they can be. And so if that's the purpose of life, what is my purpose? My purpose is to be the very best that I can be so that I can manifest that in the world and so that I can be the best for others.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? What is the best I can be? It's honesty, integrity, making decisions for moral reasons, to do the right thing as opposed to the thing that's 100% good for me. It's challenging myself, going into environments and subjecting myself to places and things and experiences that challenge me so I can learn about myself. So honesty, integrity, really hard work ethic, service mentality, those are kind of my core values and my mission.
I can see you're living it out. You're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
And I would say,
No question.
And Zach and I have talked about this plenty before. And with the success you've had at a very young age, also another thing that I think really describes you is humble.
Thank you.
You possess a lot of humility, because a lot of people in your position possess a lot of pride. So, but you have a lot of humility. And so shout out to you for that.
Thank you.
Any words of encouragement for the listeners, before we kind of wrap this thing up?
Well, before we do that,
Yeah.
I want to, as always, plug for our guest. So, Chaz, is there any place that the Blueprint listeners can find you, either that's via website, social media, whatever you want? Is there a place where they can find you?
Yeah. So best place to find me is probably going to be on my LinkedIn, Chaz Woodhull, ChazWoodhull. So check me out there. You can also find more about us on our website, GallagherPool.com, GallagherPool, POOL.com. That's our firm website. And then I also have a landing page for scheduling appointments, ChazWoodhull.com.
And I would highly encourage to schedule an appointment, because here's the thing about Chaz is, Steph and I have sat in many appointments with you, and it is, where you don't see a return in the moment, but you are pouring into us, educating us. And so, because I'll tell you, I was one of those guys that didn't know a lot about finances. It wasn't really talked about. My dad was terrible with money, but being able to just sit down and be educated by you and being advised, has been a tremendous return for me. So I would encourage everybody to just at least schedule a consultation with Chaz. If you're scared, just talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In worst case scenario, we talk about this all the time, but you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you absolutely want to surround yourself with people like Chaz Woodhull.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why
Plus he lives those core values.
Yeah. And that's why we were so excited to have you on the podcast, man, because just like being intentional about who you're surrounding yourself with and the influences that come in, I mean, it makes or breaks. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Spencer, kind of getting back to, I cut you off a little bit.
Yeah,
sorry. But ending with, like we always do, a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah.
We have some scripture here.
Yeah.
Proverbs 21:20, the wise have wealth and luxury, but fools spend whatever they get. I feel like that is very applicable to our conversation on finance today.
And wealth and luxury shouldn't be taken lightly. That is also, that's a journey.
It is. It is.
So wisdom is a journey, comes with time. Wealth and luxury comes with time.
Yeah.
So,
well, Chaz,
it's a process.
Thank you so much for joining today, man. Really appreciate it. Provided so much value to the Blueprint listeners. So Blueprint listeners, if you liked today's episode, feel free, as always, like and subscribe. We'll see you next week on the Blueprint Podcast.
See ya.
Peace.